Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and this is the next map in Chapter 6 of Mirror of the Dead Men for Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Now, of course, this is in Tabletop Simulator, so let me go ahead and load up the next map so we can kind of look at it. Here we go, got them in folders, and we're on Marsh Bridge Part 2. Now, this is not something you're going to find in the book. You have nothing but, kind of random encounters in the book, as I've said before. But let's go ahead. I'm going to get rid of the lighting so we can see it, and probably get rid of the grid too, because it just makes things look ugly. Anyway, this is it. This is the part 3, I think, of the map. So, whoa, okay, I'm on, and here we go. The camera's already acting weird. Let's do this. We'll go to first person. All right. So this is where they would come in from part 2. They would continue to follow the bridge all the way up and come to this major arch here and flow through. This is a Skyrim model you can find on the workshop, as I've stated before. And of course, I just kind of presented them with just another obstacle here. The bridge has been broken up. Now, there's a little bit of lore in the chapter. I think I've talked about this in my other video. There is some lore there. There is some talking about how different people have come into the swamp, built the castle, taken over the castle. And my thoughts were to expand on that just a little bit. For instance, this, maybe I've already talked about this, but just putting in this bridge that would lead them to the castle eventually, but of course it's been destroyed, so it doesn't do that anymore. But, some good trade goods could come in a little bit easier, so it does have human origins. But anyway, this is the map they just finished last night, where all hell kind of broke loose over about 2 sessions. And this is, of course, again, this is another Skyrim piece here. These trees, swamp trees, also available on the workshop. This huge pirate ship, I keep calling it a pirate ship, not really a pirate ship, it's just a ship. I kind of put into the swamp and gave some lore around it, which really is what kicked off the entire combat. And you can find that in my campaign diary of what happened there, because there were a lot of crocodiles. And of course, as you can see here, this is where we left off. And these were the giant centipedes that I kind of locked into position that were coming out from underneath the bridge. Eventually, I think I'll make these available on the workshop if people want to use them, if you want to expand the swamp. But there's just so much you can do in the swamp, and I feel like you can accidentally prolong their time in the swamp. So I'm going to start pulling back and kind of ditching a couple of my ideas that are coming up in the future sessions. But anyway, this is it. I just wanted to show this off real fast. I'm not going to make this a super long video. It looks great when you can put all the effects in, such as the lighting. But again, you can see I've kind of randomly put in some fire that's coming out of the swamp for unknown reasons. A lot of the green mist here. You can see here is actually the effect of the mist. And what I should have done, which I've learned recently, I could take this and we could move it down below the board so you don't see it at all. But in this case, I wanted it up high because I wanted to have just an obscured vision. I wanted that green mist to be higher off the swamp water, thinking that nobody would go into the swamp water, and boy, was I wrong. But anyway, so you can see just a couple scattered effects. Again, I have kept to shrinking down my tokens, so there's a sense of scale to everything. Things just look big. The pirate ship looks big. This model is pretty, that I got off the workshop, it's pretty static. You can't quite increase the size anymore. So I wanted to make it bigger, but I couldn't. So it is as is. But I kept to, making the tokens smaller, the enemies smaller, so everything seems larger and bigger. That's been pretty consistent. Again, I put a tree here so they could find a way across. This time, they could have grappled and swung across. But again, we had the spider, so it kind of was no big deal. Matter of fact, when they did the spider web, all I did here was take off my line tool and just kind of did this. This is something you can do. You can just kind of draw directly on the board. And what I did here, this was just kind of like symbolizing the web. I guess I could, I could draw. All right, so, that's what I did there. Just made it look like, okay, so there's webbing there. As a matter of fact, in last night's combat, a centipede started over here and kind of tried to work its way across and got stuck. 2 of them did, actually. But that's something you can do directly on your board. Sometimes I forget about it. I forget that I can draw directly on here and maybe put a marker somewhere or whatnot. So it's easy to forget in the heat of the moment, and I forget often. So just, if you can remember that, great. But it works really well. Anyway, guys, this is it. This is the third part of the swamp, and kind of mixed in a little bit of the lore, maybe expanded on it just slightly, and just kind of did it for a nice effect. And I kept the third-person camera, so let's say if here's our cleric, she wanted to hit something long range, well, we could look from her perspective to see where she could hit, who was in range. You know, obviously number 6 here, number 5 just coming up, but probably have half cover. And then, of course, 4 down here probably have half cover as well. And eventually there was some that came way out here. But that was a nice little tool. This first-person camera can really get you down at their level, and you can see who they have access to. And that's this person down here. Who do I got? Okay, the druid, who was a spider, actually. Pretty had access to just about everybody. And, of course, there's one way up there as well. But anyway, guys, this is it. This is more stuff that you can do with Tabletop Simulator. It was fun to put together. Took about 3 hours to piece together. And I would hop. I recommend hop from map to map. If you got 2 or 3 maps going, you know, just take your time. If you hop from one to the other, it might help you and inspire you for the next map. I find that it does that. It helps me, at least. I mean, maybe it'll just confuse you. I don't know. I don't know how you work, but I find that hopping from map to map does help. No one climbed this, thankfully, but there was an option there. But anyway, this is it. Let's go ahead now. Put the lighting back on. I usually use 46, which is, oh, it didn't come in. Nightfall, and we'll keep the grid off. But, and of course, when you do a line, you also have the erase tool, and you can, you know, kind of erase all these lines. You have to really get in there and click on them. And yeah, every time I want to show something, it doesn't work. Anyway, you get the idea. But look, I mean, this is that essence of verisimilitude and ambiance and effects. You can really, we could turn this off here. You can really set it up again and make things look just awesome, I think, in Tabletop Simulator. The lighting and everything, all the 3D elements working together. It was fun to do. Very dark, but fun to do. Anyways, guys, that's it. I'll wrap this up. I do have one or two more left in the swamp that I can show, and then eventually we're going to come to the castle, and then I'll show that one. I plan on nixing a lot of the stuff in the castle. I think it just goes on for too long, and I don't need to be dwelling in the swamp much longer. But I will show those maps next. But again, this is Tabletop Simulator. You can find it on Steam. I recommend it for Dungeons & Dragons. It's great. I have, again, no players are complaining about anything. We love it. Matter of fact, I'm going to be hopefully projecting it on the wall soon instead of the TV, which has always worked great, but just kind of project it on the wall. That way it's like a big 6-8 foot screen, and people can really see their tokens from the table. So we're looking forward to that. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'll let you go, and I'll see you in the next video.